I still remember the sound of the front door slamming behind me. It echoed through my chest harder than it echoed through the house. I stood on the porch with one small backpack, a wrinkled envelope holding exactly $100 and nowhere to go. It was raining just enough to soak my sneakers, but not enough to hide the tears running down my face. "You're 25, my father said without looking at me. "Figure it out." My mother folded her arms like she was watching a stranger leave, instead of her own daughter. "And don't come back," she added. "We're done paying for your mistakes." The door shut before I could answer. That was the last time either of them willingly spoke to me. My name's Emily. I'm 30 now. And if someone had told me that people who erased me from their lives would someday call me 88 times in a single day, I would have laughed through my tears, 'cause for 5 long years, I didn't exist to them. The worst part wasn't losing my home. It was realizing I'd lost my family. I wasn't some reckless criminal or addict. I had dropped out graduate school after my fiancé cheated on me and drained the savings we'd built together. I spiraled into depression, missed work, and eventually lost my apartment. I came home hoping my parents would help me get back on my feet. Instead, they treated me like an embarrassment. My younger brother Jason stood in the hallway watching everything happen. He never defended me. Later that night, I texted my mom from a bus station. "I'm safe. I love you." No reply. A week later, I wished my dad a happy birthday. Nothing. At Thanksgiving, nothing. Christmas, nothing. When I turned 26, nothing. Eventually, I stopped checking my phone. I worked every job I could find. I waited tables during the day, cleaned offices at night, and slept on a friend's couch until I could afford a tiny studio apartment with stained carpet and a window that barely closed. Some nights I cried myself to sleep. Other nights I was too exhausted to cry. But every morning I got up. Not because someone believed in me, because nobody did, and I promised myself that if I ever escaped survival mode, I'd never let another person decide my worth again. I had no idea that promise was about to be tested. 5 years after my parents threw me out with $100, a single phone call would shatter the silence they'd built. And before that day was over, my phone would show 88 missed calls from the very people who once acted like I had never existed. 5 years can change a person. They changed me. The scared woman who had stood in the rain with $100 was gone. I had spent those years rebuilding my life one painful step at a time. I earned certifications at night, landed an entry-level job at a financial consulting firm, and slowly climbed the ladder. Every promotion felt like proof that I was stronger than the voices that once told me I would never be enough. I still carried the hurt, but it no longer controlled me. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. A minute later, another call came in. Then another. By lunchtime, I had 12 missed calls. My stomach tightened. Something felt wrong. I finally listened to the voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice was shaking. "Emily, please call us. It's important. We need to talk." Need? For 5 years, they hadn't needed a daughter. Now suddenly, they did. I deleted the voicemail and went back to work. But the calls didn't stop. Unknown numbers, my father's cell, my brother Jason, even relatives I hadn't heard from in years. By the end of the afternoon, my phone showed 34 missed calls. My coworker Melissa looked at me. "Everything okay?" I forced a smile. "I honestly don't know." That evening, curiosity got the better of me. I answered. "Hello?" The silence on the other end lasted several seconds before my father spoke. "Emily, thank God." His voice sounded softer than I had ever heard it. "I've been trying to reach you all day." I didn't answer. Finally, I said the only thing that came to mind. "Who is this?" Another long silence. "It's Dad. I don't have one of those." He inhaled sharply. "You don't mean that." "I do." Before he could continue, I hung up. Within seconds, my phone rang again, then again, and again. Text messages flooded in. "Please don't ignore us. This is an emergency. Call home. By midnight, the total reached 88 missed calls. 88. The same people who had ignored every birthday, every holiday, every desperate message I had never sent suddenly couldn't stand one day without hearing my voice. I stared at the glowing screen, wondering what could possibly have happened. Then Jason sent one final text. Emily, Mom and Dad didn't tell you the truth 5 years ago. Someone came looking for you today, and everything is about to come out. I read the message 3 times. For the first time in years, I realized my parents hadn't just abandoned me. They had been hiding something, and whatever that secret was, it was finally catching up with them. I barely slept that night. Jason's message kept replaying in my mind. Mom and Dad didn't tell you the truth. For 5 years, I'd believed I knew exactly why they had thrown me out. They called me a disappointment, blamed me for dropping out of graduate school, and insisted I had to learn responsibility. It had been cruel, but at least it made sense. Now I wasn't so sure. The next morning, I agreed to meet Jason at a quiet coffee shop halfway across town. The second I saw him, I noticed how much older he looked. The confident younger brother I remembered had been replaced by a man carrying guilt on his shoulders. "I'm sorry," he said before he even sat down. "For what?" "For staying quiet." He looked down at his coffee. "The day they kicked you out, I heard everything." I frowned. "Hear what?" Jason swallowed hard. "A lawyer came to the house before you got there." My heart skipped. "He wasn't there because of Mom or Dad. He was there because of you." I stared at him, unable to speak. He continued. "Grandma Eleanor changed her will a few months before she passed away. She left almost everything to you." I blinked. "What?" Jason nodded slowly. "Her house, her investment account, and several pieces of family property." I couldn't breathe. "My parents told me Grandma left everything to charity. They lied." The words hit harder than being thrown out ever had. Jason's eyes filled with tears. They were furious. "Dad kept saying you didn't deserve it after wasting your life," Mom agreed. "They decided if they forced you out and cut off contact, you'd never know about the inheritance." "So? They stole it?" Jason nodded. "They convinced the attorney you couldn't be located. The estate stayed tied up in court for years while they tried to gain control." I felt sick. 5 years. 5 years of working double shifts, missing meals, sleeping on broken furniture, wondering why my own parents hated me, all while they were secretly trying to keep the life Grandma had wanted me to have. Then Jason slid a business card across the table. "The attorney found you yesterday." I looked at the name. "He finally tracked you down because the judge rejected Mom and Dad's last petition. They lost everything." Jason looked me straight in the eyes. "Emily, the inheritance is still legally yours." For the first time in 5 years, I finally understood why my parents had called me 88 times. They weren't calling because they loved me. They were calling because they had been caught, and they were about to lose far more than money. I sat in the attorney's office 2 days later, staring at a stack of documents with my name on every page. Grandma Eleanor had left me everything because, as she wrote in a handwritten letter, "Emily has the kindest heart in this family. She will build something meaningful with what I leave behind." I couldn't hold back my tears. For 5 years, I had believed I was unwanted, but the one person who truly knew me had never stopped believing in me. The attorney explained that the court had ruled completely in my favor. My parents had knowingly withheld information, made false statements during the probate process, and attempted to gain control of assets that legally belonged to me. Their actions had finally caught up with them. The afternoon my phone rang again. "Dad." This time, I answered. "Emily," he said, his voice cracking. "Please. We made mistakes. We're still family." I let the silence linger. Then I quietly asked, when I texted Mom that first night saying I was safe, "Did either of you even read it?" Neither of them spoke. That silence gave me every answer I needed. "You didn't lose your daughter today," I said. "You lost her 5 years ago when you closed that front door." Mom started crying. "We can fix this." "No," I replied calmly. You can live with it." I hung up before either of them could say another word. A few weeks later, the court officially transferred the inheritance to me. I restored Grandma's old house instead of selling it. I turned part of it into a scholarship foundation for young women who had been abandoned by their families while trying to rebuild their lives. Every scholarship carried a small plaque with Grandma's favorite words: "Kindness always outlives greed." Word spread through our hometown about what my parents had done. Friends stopped defending them. Relatives who had believed their version of the story apologized to me. Some even admitted they had wondered why my parents never mentioned me anymore. As for Jason, we slowly rebuilt our relationship. He couldn't change the past, but he had finally chosen honesty over fear. That meant something. People often ask if I ever forgave my parents. The truth is, forgiveness isn't the same as giving someone another chance. I let go of the anger because I refused to carry it for the rest of my life. But I never reopened the door they had slammed in my face. 5 years ago, they sent me away with $100 and the belief that I'd never survive. Instead, I built a life they could never control. And those 88 missed calls? They weren't the sound of love finally finding me. They were the sound of consequences finally finding them.